The SMG4 episode titled Mario is Fine had one of the strangest endings in the channel's history in my opinion, which is definitely a high hurdle to cross considering the channel we are talking about. At the end of the episode, Mario makes two original characters based on himself and Luigi to act as mascots for his pizza shop, which comes completely out of nowhere, with no build-up or hints towards this turn of events. This was already strange enough, as is, but then the final shots make Marty appear very sinister despite just being a cardboard cutout, which again just comes out of nowhere. As a side note, I like how these characters are likely inspired by Pizza Tower and its art direction, and it is clear that these two characters are what the pizza shop side plot with Mario is likely building up to. This episode caused people to speculate about whether Mario and Luigi were going to be redesigned and renamed into these characters in order to avoid copyright issues with Nintendo, which has been a gradual trend on the channel in recent years, such as with redesigns of original characters which used Nintendo models or the creation of a new castle to act as the main setting of the show. However, Mario and Luigi ever being redesigned is highly unlikely, as the majority of the channel's views no doubt comes from the use of Mario and Luigi in their videos, thumbnails and titles, so doing this would make little sense business-wise. It would also be a deeply unpopular decision, with even die-hard fans of the recent redesigns of other characters being unlikely to accept such a change. As another side note, I do like the direction they took the character designs, even though they are just crappy MS Paint drawings at the moment. Having them being Pizza Tower inspired is actually quite interesting, and is far more inspired than the first Bootkin's redesign for example. However, I have no interest in them replacing Mario and Luigi on the show, unless a real DMC from Nintendo actually did happen. Moving on, the episode also caused speculation around Marty and Luigi possibly coming to life and becoming the next antagonists of a story arc, which was further fueled by a second appearance of Marty in the episode titled We Interrupt This Broadcast, where he appears in two separate scenes, and again receives an ominous close-up, just as on the nose as the last one. We now know however with the release of later content that the main antagonist of this year and the possible ongoing arc is most probably the 2D entity from the It's Gotta Be Perfect movie. It is very heavily implied that the events of the upcoming Western spaghetti movie are being manipulated by this entity, so it is hard to see Marty and Luigi being the main antagonists of any major video or arc on the channel anytime soon. Therefore, I saw a theory that Marty may have been a misdirection away from the 2D entity being the main antagonist, especially due to the very on-the-nose teases of him potentially not being all that it seems and the fact that he is just a cardboard cutout. But personally I don't think they have created these characters as just misdirections, as they have not appeared often enough to distract from the 2D entity, which has seen references to it becoming far less subtle, and we've seen fictional characters come to life after receiving build-up to their characters with Keizo in the past, making the idea of them becoming antagonists, likely through coming to life, less implausible. I currently theorize that the ongoing story arc with the 2D entity will likely continue after the upcoming movie, which will possibly encompass a third movie, Mem Games and Wattfi, as after all this arc is said to be much bigger than the other ones. I think Marty and Luigi will be brought to life by the 2D entity to serve as pawns in a later plot it enacts after the Western spaghetti movie, assuming that it is not defeated in this movie. The 2D entity is clearly shown to be very powerful and Marty and Luigi are currently located on the showgrounds, which we know is related to the 2D entity, so in my opinion this is the most likely scenario, where they are brought to life. I also believe that this plot by the 2D entity involving Marty and Luigi will very likely be Wattfi 2023. This is because, if they competed in Wattfi against Mario and Luigi, the name War of the Fat Italians would still work even after SMG4 and 3's redesigns. I also think this is due to their presence on the showgrounds. They will likely be linked to the plan that the 2D entity has with the showgrounds, with this plan likely occurring sometime after the upcoming movie, because this movie seemingly looks to be entirely set in the Wild West. If this is true, then I think Watfi will likely take place at the end of the TV entity's plot with the showgrounds, as Watfi is typically the final major video of the year and the trend is that it concludes story arcs, so due to the whole arc with the TV entity beginning with the old castle's destruction, I think it would be fitting for the arc to culminate with the new castle on the showgrounds being completed. I am interested in what their fates after a potential Watfi 2023 would be though. I don't think they would die or remain antagonists after Watfi, as I imagine that, if they do get models made for them, SMG4 would probably want to use them, if a real DMC came from Nintendo, so I doubt they would keep them as antagonists or kill them, as they would likely want people to actually like the new characters as well as keep some consistency with their older videos that used Nintendo hype. So I think we could see them becoming side characters who are friendly with the SMG4 cast, which would make it easier for them to fulfill the role that Mario and Luigi currently play, if that becomes necessary. The last thing about this Marty lore I want to mention is that Wii has received much less attention than Marty, with Wii being completely absent in the We Interrupt This broadcast episode, and then there's the obvious fact that his image is drawn far worse than Marty and it lacks any colors. Despite this, I believe he will likely also be brought to life eventually alongside Marty, although likely playing a more secondary role, as more of a sidekick to Marty, sort of similar to who he is based on, as if not I do not see why they even bothered to include him in Mario is Fine in the first place. I also think his less well-made design can be explained as a joke about Luigi in general. Well, I guess we'll have to wait and see tomorrow, if any of the ideas I presented in this video are immediately outdated. I think that, if we do see anything of Marty tomorrow, it'll likely be as another on-the-nose teaser with him at the end of the movie. The only real evidence for him playing a bigger role in the movie is the fact that he did appear in one of the build-up episodes to the movie, but his absence in the latest build-up episode makes me doubt he will have a significant inclusion. Toodles guys.